welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Cassie, also known as KnittaCass. This is my YouTube channel where I talk about the projects that I am knitting, the patterns that I'm drooling over, sometimes some crochet, a little bit about my farm life on a small farm in Vermont, books I'm reading, and a spice of mental health. So go ahead and grab your favorite beverage. I, of course, have my Pepsi and your current project, and let's sit down and chat for a little bit. This might be a little bit of a quick podcast. I have some things to show you, not a whole lot to talk about, but it has been a few weeks, so I wanted to get caught up with you. I hope you all are well. If you are a new subscriber, welcome and thank you for giving me a follow. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for continuing to come back. Your support means so much to me. So I have a couple finished objects, which doesn't happen very often, so it's kind of exciting. My first finished object is a washcloth. This will bring me to washcloth number 1 of the year. Today is Tuesday, March 5th, so I need to get my tail in gear. I want to knit 12 washcloths this year. So I have knit the Belgian Waffle washcloth. It's got this really nice pattern here, super easy repeats. This is a pattern by the Kitchen Sink shop. If you go to their website and sign up for newsletter, you will get a dishcloth pattern sent to you in your email on the 1st of the month. She is also this year adding them onto Ravelry for free. It's not right at the 1st of the month. I'm not sure how much further after the 1st. So you could also find them there. And then at the end of the year, she usually puts them all together and makes like a downloadable book of the 12 washcloths. So January's was Belgian Waffles, and this is the Belgian Waffle washcloth. I made it out of some generic red Dishy from Knit Picks, and it was a really quick, easy knit. I also finished a pair of socks. These are the Find Your Joy socks. They are a pattern by Kay of the Crazy Sock Lady. The yarn was an exclusive colorway from the Love and Stitches memberships with Pretty Twisted yarn. It is inspired by gingerbread cookies, and so it had this really nice micro striping yarn with some like golden tan and some pinks and some blues. I got it on the Selena base, so it has some sparkle. And then it came with a coordinating mini of blue and a coordinated midi of, I think it's supposed to be red, but it looks more pink to me. And so I made them so that they are polar opposites. So I think that will be a fun way to match my socks, but also have them non-matchy. And my problem was I did the Find Your Joy pattern, and you can kind of see it, but the yarn was too busy. And I enjoyed knitting the pattern, but because it was so busy, I didn't want to keep knitting it on the foot. So it's just got this really nice kind of texture to the cuff of the sock and the leg of the sock, and then some vanilla stockinette. I do have a heel flap and turn for the heel, which fits me best, and I really liked what it did on the heel here. I thought that was super cute. You can really see the striping there on that smaller circumference. And it did the same on that heel. Super cute. I am in love with this yarn. I have quite a bit left and I don't know what I want to do with it. So I have 2 small cakes of the main colorway. And I believe the color is Love in Pretty Twisted Stitches. There's a nice blue. I haven't weighed them. And the red or the pink. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the rest of that yarn. That is it for finished objects, although I do have a hoe, which has been a hoe for a while. I don't think I've shown it. It is a sock pattern that I've been working on for way too long, and it is inspired by the Outlander series. And it's got what looks like these nice Celtic knots, which it will look a lot better once it's blocked out. And it's in this really pretty colorway that was part of a kit from the Corner of Craft quite a few years ago. I think maybe 2 or 3 Christmases ago. And it was for a pattern inspired by Dungeons and Dragons that had like a Christmas theme. So I think it was supposed to make on the side of the sock like what looked like a Christmas tree with a die in it, but I don't remember the number, like D whatever. I don't remember the number of it. But I had a really hard time reading the pattern and I didn't really enjoy the process, so I frogged everything that I had and saved the yarn. And it's just a really pretty kind of pastel delicate yarn. It kind of reminds me of the mints that you get at the weddings. I don't know if they do that anymore, but every time I think of those little mints that melt in your mouth, they're like these pastel colors. This is what I think of. And this is using a shadow wrap peel, which I guess I'm not doing a good job of showing it. Yeah, so I'll be looking for some pattern testers pretty soon. I am starting the foot, a little bit in the foot of my second sock, and I wanted to make sure I had a full set before I sent it out for test knitters. I have noticed in years past that when I'm sending out my socks to be tested, I'm usually still knitting the second one, and for some reason on that second sock, I tend to pick up things that I didn't notice on the first sock. So I want to finish that first, get it, all the kinks that I can get out, and then send it to testers so they can see if my pattern's readable and if there's other kinks that I just didn't do. The thing about when you're designing a sock and writing things down is that your brain knows what you want to do. So even if it's wrong or written wrong, you're going to do it the right way, the way you're intended to. So it's really helpful to have a test knitter read your pattern because they don't know what you are thinking and they will pick up on the differences that you will automatically correct in your brain. So I'll be sending those out. I look forward to getting some feedback and seeing what people do with different colorways. I do plan on making this with a different colorway, and I have a couple designs that I'm hoping to get done soon. Whips. So on my coziest memory blanket, I have done maybe 2 squares. I did not bring it in here, not anything exciting. I'm going to try to put a progress keeper or a stitch marker in each square that I finish from now on, so that on my next podcast, I can show you the different squares that I did. I am all caught up on my Christmas squares. I'm still missing 2 of my Advent colorways. They haven't turned up anywhere. So I'm not really sure like what black hole they fell into, but I did get caught up with the Advent colorways that I had available and have started doing some scraps from my scrap bin. So I'll show you that next podcast. I also have the campsite cardie that is in this nice bag from Rybeck a couple years ago, and it is by Tika Bags. So I got my sock roller in there. I don't know why it's in there. Hopefully I'm not undoing anything. So I have finished the body. And cast off, and I am working on one of the sleeves. I've done quite a bit of the sleeves, working on some decreases. And I'm using a progress keeper from Simply Serving. It is a bowl of chili. It has the cornbread on there and shredded cheese and red onions. It's just really well done. So I've got that progress keeper on there. I think this is how much I knit during the Super Bowl, I think is what it was. I think I put the progress keeper there and then knit to here during the Super Bowl. And then I ran out of my mohair, so it is on pause. I am knitting it with, well, I should say, this is a pattern by Alicia Plummer. It's called the Campsite Cardi. And I'm knitting it with this gorgeous kind of bluish color with green speckles in it. And this is called Pennies from Heaven by Little Fox. And I was holding it with a strand of mohair, and together it was making it like a really iridescent color, and it was really gorgeous. So I'm ordering some more mohair, and this project is on hold. I also have this colorway here. I think it was called Peacock Blue. Yeah, I think it's called Peacock Blue, and it is by Fiber Stash Dye Works, which is a local to me dyer. She dyes in Vermont, and she's not that far away from me. I also started a crochet washcloth so I can practice my crochet skills. I have done a couple washcloths before, and I'm just using the regular single stitch. I'm still having to use a stitch marker for the last stitch of my row so that my edges are not wonky, and it's looking okay so far. I did make it a little big for a washcloth, I think. Yeah, I definitely made it a little bit big for a washcloth, but I have noticed with my washcloths that they do shrink after several washes, so I think it'll be okay. So just a plain, I don't know if you call it vanilla during crochet. Do you call it vanilla crochet? I know we say vanilla in knitting. Not sure, but I'll call it vanilla crochet. So vanilla crochet washcloth out of the same red dishy. And it's in this really cute peekaboo bag by Mid Mitten Designs. And I'm using a 4mm, and I'm really, really new to crochet, so I have no idea what letter that is. So bear with me. I want to work on my crochet skills so I can do some amigurumi and make some blankets. But my current project, which I'll talk about in just a moment, has got me questioning whether I am really making progress in crochet. It's kind of making me a little weary of my crochet skills. I know that I am a beginner, but I feel like the blanket might be confusing me a little bit more than helping me. So that brings me to my blanket, which I'm holding in this basket that I got from Rybeck 2 years ago. And it is made out of these big cakes. This is a mandala cake by Lion Brand Yarn. And this was given to me by my sister, 2 cakes of it. That's one I haven't used yet. So see if I can do this without moving my place. So it's very, very pretty. I'm liking the way it looks. It's going to be a little bit of an oversized lap blanket, but as you can see on the ends here, I'm a little bit frustrated with the ends. This part here is when I was really trying to correct the math, or really not paying attention to the math, and I'm starting to be a little bit better about paying attention, although it is quite overwhelming. So the pattern is, I think it's the Cozy Stripe Blanket, or the Coziest Stripe Blanket. Is by Adyln 24, and it's basically 2 rows of just double crochet stitches, and then I have no idea what they call it, but I call it like a, kind of looks like a seashell to me. It creates like a 3 stitches into each hole. And when you're doing that, some rows you're starting with 2 of the double crochets in 1 stitch, and sometimes you're ending the end with like 1, and sometimes with 2, sometimes with 3, and then like you're skipping a stitch on some rows to keep the count normal. So when I'm knitting it, or when I'm crocheting it, I have to look at the directions and go row by row and just keep going up and down on my pattern, and it's not really sinking in, and I'm having to think a lot about it. So I've been a little frustrated, but looking at how pretty it is, I think I'm gonna keep going. I don't know if it helps me to draw a picture. I did talk to my friend Salila about it, and she said sometimes for new crocheters, it's hard to read the crochet pattern. It can be kind of like, it doesn't translate the same way as maybe a knitting pattern would if you started knitting first. So she did offer to take a look at it and kind of write it in like a little bit easier way for me to understand it. I think I'm going to draw myself a picture, and that might help. But I have put it aside for just a little bit to brush up on some regular stitches, and hoping to get back to it soon. I am almost done with the first cake, so I might just finish the first cake. This is how much I have left, but not sure. And I will move my stitch marker wherever it is. This is my Valentine heart stitch marker. This was actually from the Corner of Craft. I got it several years ago. I was part of her Stitch Marker of the Month club, and that was February one year. So we'll move the stitch marker here, and we'll know how much I've done from now to my next podcast. Don't be surprised if it's not much. Okay. This brings me to the whip that is bringing me the most joy and is kind of almost done. This is the Rybeck Cowl by Jamie Lomax of Pacific Knit Co. So a doodle is a pattern by Pacific Knit Co, and they are done by themes, and so she gives you motif charts. And the really cool thing about it is she gives instructions for knitting like a regular cowl versus an infinity cowl, and also gives you different motifs so you can kind of pick and choose, like a choose your own adventure. So what I did is I chose to do the Rybeck Cowl, and I picked out my motifs, lined them up in the order that I want to knit them, and glued them onto a piece of paper. So this is this and all my notes. And here is where I am so far. So the last time we chatted about this, I was at the very end of the hats or had just finished the hats. Let me move this out of the way. So I've got my apples, my leaves, my llamas that I'm not impressed with because I changed my color dominance while I was doing it and it didn't work very well. It was 3 colors, and for some reason that was just much more difficult for me. And then I have these cute little hats, and then I have these little gray sheep. They kind of look white on here, but they're like more of a gray. They're kind of like this color here. You can see it when you get a little bit closer. Then I've got my fall leaves. This line right here, the red, is the like debris of the leaves on the ground. And the red and the orange were not very contrasty, which was kind of disappointing. But up close, it's pretty good. It's just like when you get, it still looks good. It shouldn't look that good. That sounds wrong. What I mean to say is there's been times where I've looked at it and it hasn't been very contrasty at all, but for some reason it looks good today. Maybe because of the ring light behind me, maybe it wouldn't look so good. Yeah, that's definitely it. Because when I put it down beside me, you can barely see it, but the ring light brings it right out. And then I have the sweaters. This was my favorite part. I couldn't decide if I wanted the sweater that had like the like V-neck and the pockets, or if I wanted more of a regular sweater. So I did both. It has you divide into chunks where you repeat the motifs. So I just did this type of sweater in one motif, or this type of sweater in one chunk, and then this type of sweater in the other chunk, and just kept taking turns. It turned out pretty great. I love how at the bottom of this one, the blue stitches kind of look like hearts. And I just love it so much. And then I've got my hank of yarn, and then I've got my sock. It is originally designed to have 3 colors. So there was like a contrast color on the sock, but I hate 3-color color work, and I decided I didn't need it. And I have just barely started the little hooves and some wool on some white sheep. That will be my last motif, and then I will figure out if it's long enough, which is kind of hard to do when you're here. It's definitely not long enough, I don't think. So yeah, I gotta figure out probably one more motif. So I gotta figure out if it's long enough, although this motif is tall and it's not finished, so it might be. Finish it up, see how tall it is, do some measurements, block it, and then figure out how to join it together. It does call for a provisional cast on, and I did a provisional crochet cast on, so you can kind of see my crochet chain here. So yeah, I'm loving it. I had some uncertainty at first about this orange that I'm using. I thought it looked more like brown, but with the colors it really is popping out as like a burnt orange, and I'm really enjoying it. I am using DK Swish, so I've got my white, which is just called white. I've got this burnt orange, which was called Sienna, also by Knit Picks. Oh, no, it's not called Sienna, it's called Allspice. And this blue, which is called, this blue that's called Wonderland Heather. And then the other colors are just some scraps that I've had laying around. I've got this pink with no band and no color. That was for the llama. I've got this gray, which I use for my sheep and my leaves. No colorway, no dyer. I've got this yellow. Same thing, it was scraps. And same thing with my red. And the pink, I don't know what color it is, but it is by Fiber Stash Dye Works. And I think that's it for colors. And I should have cast on already a SCO. My SCO right now is the February dishcloth, which is called City of Lights. So I need to cast that on soon. I was supposed to cast it on like last weekend or the weekend before. I told my friend Sarah I was going to cast it on, but the weekend got away from me and I didn't cast it on. So that's it for that. So for acquisitions, I just have one to share with you. This is my Yarnable for March. We'll do the yarn first. So this is some really, really gorgeous yarn. Totally up my alley. I love pink and I love blue. I love baby blue and like a bubblegum pink. This is kind of more of purple and pink, but I absolutely love it. It's called Here We Grow Again. It's on a plush sock base, 85/15 superwash merino and nylon. I don't know what to make with it. I seem like all I do is make socks. And I was thinking lately, like, I should really branch out more. I don't wear hats. I'm not much of a shawl knitter. I like the process, but not the product. I'll use some of my shawls, but most of the time I just make shawls and just have shawls that I don't wear. And then the goodies come in this really cute bag that you can use as a notion pouch. It's pretty sturdy. And I have these little progress keepers. One says right side, well, one says RS for right side and WS for wrong side. It's got this pin with all these nice flowers, and it says, "Go away, I'm knitting." And then it's got this really nice bar here. It says it is a mini rose lavender grapefruit shampoo. So I'm pretty curious to try it. It is like a bar, like a circle disc. So not sure, haven't tried it yet. It smells really good though. That's March. I did get a notification that my April box has, I don't know that it's shipped, that it renewed, and then there's like a chance for doing the sneak peek. I never do the sneak peek. I don't want to know. I want to be completely surprised. So family life, kids are growing, everyone's happy and healthy. Regular basketball season is over. AAU season is starting. I think I only have one kiddo doing it, my oldest, Michael, but I'm not sure if my 16-year-old will do it. He kind of lives, eats, breathes basketball, so I'm surprised he hasn't talked to me about it, but we'll see. And lately I bought a computer off Amazon. It is a MacBook Pro, and wasn't very clear in the description what year it was, so me being a non-techie guru bought it so that I could use iMovie on a computer. There is more features you can use on the computer versus an iPad where I currently do my video editing, but I bought an older version that is not up to speed enough to do iMovie, so that was a big bummer and a super kick in the pants. And then, of course, embarrassing because I was asking some friends about it, and they basically were like, yeah, your computer is way too old. Luckily, I do have a friend named Salila who was really nice about it and kind of explained things to me and is helping me kind of look at the different options that I have for what I need. I don't need something super fancy, but I definitely need something way more updated and one that I can use iMovie with. I also bought it refurbished, and I think this time I'm going to spend some more money and actually get a new one so that it lasts even longer. Farm life, I hinted about this a little bit. I hadn't quite made my decision, but I will be selling my sheep. It is bittersweet, so I don't have as much time to do it. There's some land dynamics that just didn't work out very well last summer and fall, and so I feel like it would be best for my sheep to go somewhere where they can have a little more attention and a little more space. So yeah, I did sell the first one. Of course, it had to be my favorite one that got bought first. That is Alice, the one who had lost a hoof and the one who gives multiple babies. And so we had, the funny story is that I did not think she was pregnant until a few days before she left, and I thought, oh my goodness, I think she's pregnant. I still have to make this decision. The buyer already told me they wanted her. I think it's pretty early on. I double checked that night, like I didn't feel anything moving as much as I could tell. She hasn't been sheared yet this winter, so it wasn't as accurate of a picture, but there was no bagging, no swelling, no nothing. So she went to her new home, and 2 weeks later, which was just a couple days ago, she lambed and had twins. And so I'm very excited for her new owner, but also kind of jealous. But she is in a place that is a small hobby farm that just got started and will get a bunch of attention and love. I talk to the owner quite often, and she is pretty great and, of course, pretty excited. This is her first experience with lambing. So she sent me this really cute video, which I'll put in here for you to enjoy. It's really quick, but who doesn't like baby lamb?
He's a little taller than the other one.
And the rest have not sold yet, but I'm hoping that they will soon before things start to get really sloppy outside so they can have some nice pasture to roam in. Let's see. I think that's it for farm life. Kind of big news, but yeah, I have sad feelings and hopeful feelings that they will have a better opportunity. Books. I have finished The Kitchens of the Great Midwest by J.R. Dahl. I'll write his name down below. Straddle, something like that. Good book. I wouldn't say very good because it's not really my cup of tea, but I really liked how it tied all the pieces together. It was a really unique format, which was kind of fun, and the ending was really great, but it wasn't what I call a great book. I also finished My Darling Girl, which is by Jennifer McMahon. She is a local author who actually lives a couple towns away from me. She writes suspenseful books that are like suspense, sci-fi, kind of thriller. But she writes the paranormal-ish parts in a way that could be completely realistic in today's world. And this book was much shorter than the rest of her books. Didn't have as much like prolonged suspense. It kind of seemed like it got tied up really quick. So it was a good book, but it wasn't one of her better books. And then I'm reading Tomorrow, Tomorrow, and Tomorrow by putting my name down below. This is our March book club for the Love and Stitches membership. And it's a really slow start. I really want to like it. I really want to get into it. It's about a couple friends who make a game, a video game. But it hasn't quite pulled me in yet. So I will probably start from Kingdom of Blood and Ash, or one of the books that my sister has mailed to me. And I think that's it for books. So for mental health, I wanted to give you some tools. So I wanted to encourage you to try some tools for self-soothing. It's really helpful to learn skills or tools to put in your tool belt in moments where you're not in a fight or flight, stressful moment where you just can't do it anymore, or where you feel like you just can't do it anymore, or like really, really down. It's really hard to remember those things if you haven't practiced them during times where it's not so tough. I will put a page up here. Feel free to screenshot it. It has some things about what you can do to kind of take a few quick moments and make yourself feel a little bit better. And the more you practice these, the more they will just be something that you are able to pull out easily in a situation where you need them. They're not, long-term solutions, but they're quick fixes to help de-escalate the moment or to help kind of brighten you up when you're feeling really down. So I'll put that slide in here. Encourage you to take a screenshot and do some practicing, even if it's only one suggestion. So I believe that's all I have for my making. So I hope you have some happy making and do some things to fill your cup, and I will see you next time. Bye.